Welcome to the Spiritual AI podcast, where we explore the incredible power of our inner intelligence, which I call spiritual AI. Just like a computer uses AI to process data and find solutions, our awareness and intuition can guide us through life with clarity, ease, and purpose. Each week, we'll dive into the transformative tools, spiritual insights, and practical strategies to help you awaken, amplify, and align with your inner power. I'm your host, your friend, your guide, and your fellow student, Leonie du Toit. Come and join the awareness and intuition revolution. On today's podcast, we are going to dive into intuition. What is intuition? How do you recognize it? How do you use it? How do you build trust with it? Everything about it. And if you are not entirely into the whole intuition or spiritual woo-woo, thing, then that gut feeling. Because the truth is, all of us have intuition. We have all got that gut feeling. And the reason we do have that is because you have a soul. And intuition is the voice of your soul. So there's no ways that you don't have it. And we've all experienced it, whether we talk about intuition, whether we talk about that gut feeling. We all have had that moment where we went, I knew that was going to happen. Or I knew that person was going to be trouble. Or I knew that if I go that way, or if I go into that shop, I was going to find the thing that I was looking for. Because your intuition, whether you recognized it or not, had spoken to you. So your gut feeling, your intuition is part of you, and it's time for you to start using it. Because if you start tapping into that gut feeling and start tapping into that intuition, your life will change. 100%. I have no doubt. So what is intuition? Now, like I just mentioned, intuition is the voice of your soul. It is there to guide you. It is always with you. The thing with intuition, the thing with the voice of your soul is that it is such a soft, gentle voice that we often don't hear or recognize it. Because let's face it, not a lot of us, we were taught how to listen to our intuition. Quite often we were taught, if we had like these weird thoughts, we were like, that's just your imagination. The funny thing is that it does talk to you through your imagination as well. So the voice of your soul is soft. It is the softest, most gentlest voice. It also doesn't speak in lengthy conversations, right? So it's not going to come and tell you, hey, Sam, you need to go to that stoplight and then you need to go left, because eventually it's going to lead you to your soulmate, because you're going to have a mind fender bender, and that actually turns out to be your soulmate in the long run. No, it is not going to do that. It is simply going to tell you. Now, it's probably not the best example that I used there because of the accident, but there's always a reason for something happening in our life, right? Your intuition will tell you left. Soft, simple, 1-2 words at a time. Within 1 to 2 split seconds, that thought will come through, that intuition, that hit, that intuitive nudge will come through. And if you are not in a state of awareness, you are going to miss it. Now, this is why I teach awareness and intuition together, because they have this beautiful dance. You have to be in the awareness to recognize your intuition. And you have to stay in awareness to recognize the next intuition. So there's this dance between awareness and intuition. Now, to me, I liken it to spiritual AI. It's just guidance. Okay, that's what I call it. It just feels good. A lot of people relate to it. But back to intuition. Intuition is a soft, gentle voice. It comes very quickly. It will give you 1 or 2 words at the most. It will come in 1 or 2 split seconds. It will always, always, always be for your highest good. And it will never, ever tell you to hurt yourself or harm anyone around you or your environment. It's not going to be negative, okay? So you're always going to get these very subtle nudges, very subtle words come through. Now, if you don't know how to build awareness, you can listen to my previous podcast. I dive a little bit into awareness, around how to start building awareness. And the more awareness you build, the more you are going to hear and receive these gut feelings. And it's amazing when they start coming. It's amazing when you get the guidance. A very simple thing, a very simple way of how I use my intuition on a daily basis is when I go driving and I want parking, I listen. I'm like so attuned to my intuition when I'm driving to the shops. I set the intention, and when I get there, even if there's no parking, if my intuition says stop, I stop. And my kids have learned, they've had experiences where they're just jaw-dropping moments. Like we went to IKEA the one day and we were driving through the parking, the rows, and it was so full. And my intuition just said stop, and I stopped. And the kids were like, why are you stopping? There's no parking. And I was like, just wait. And it wasn't maybe like 5 seconds later, I had a couple walk down, and right where I had stopped, they opened up and they got in their car and reversed out, and I could literally drive into the parking spot. So that's a very like a daily way that the universe can support you. If you're looking for, groceries, if you are, you're wanting to buy a gift for somebody, even when you leave the house and you forgot your water bottle, like it can help you in such big and small ways that it can just change your life in so many different ways. I want to break away from the episode for a moment and share with you that in February, we launched Sacred Healing. Now, Sacred Healing is my 3-month program where I've got 4 other experts joining me to guide you through your healing journey. We'll dive into things like awareness and intuition. We'll dive into mindset reframing. We'll dive into inner child work, breath work, nervous system regulation. We look at human design and how it can support you, manifesting or awakening abundance, as I call it, and so much more. So if you are interested to join us, why don't you register for the live Zoom call on the 18th of February? The link will be in the show notes, and come and see what it is all about. I would love to have you on board. Now back to the episode. Now that you know what your intuition is and what it sounds like, okay, how do you build trust? How do you build trust? How do you know it's not just your imagination? How do you know it's not just, you making up thoughts? Well, it's practice, right? Like everything in life, you've got to practice. If you don't put the effort in, you are not going to reap the rewards. And I have a very simple game that you can play, because when we play games, we allow the barrier of the subconscious mind to come down, and we can override the belief systems that we hold, the programs that is held within the subconscious mind. So when we play, we make it playful, we get around the barrier of the subconscious mind, and the mind goes, oh, this is fun, let's play. But in that play, what you're doing is you're developing that spirit sense, you're developing your intuition. Now, if you have followed me for a while, you might already know of this game. If you haven't, and this is the first time you are listening to the podcast, welcome. The game that I play with my clients when I teach my students is called the traffic light game. Now, what this game does is it actually creates, it helps you recognize your intuition. It helps you act. So take action on that intuition, because action is really important after you've received that intuition, right? It helps you receive the validation of that action that you've taken, okay, and the nudge that you received. And it creates this beautiful full circle event that helps you get the validation that you are right and that it's okay to trust that inner voice. Now, the way that you play this game is when you're traveling in a car or on the bus, when you stop at the traffic light, I want you to expect a number to drop into your head. Now, that number that drops into your head is simply going to be your mind. It is going to come to you in your own voice. That's what your soul sounds like. Your own voice, that nudge is going to come through and it's going to drop a number into your head. Let's say the number 5. Then you have to have the awareness, because you're expecting that number, right? You have to have the awareness to pick up on that number. And then when you receive that number, you are going to validate that you've heard it, and you are going to start counting backwards from 5. You're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you get to 1 or 0, the light will turn green for you to go. Okay? That is the validation of the nudge that you received, that gut feeling, right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the action and you are going to move forward. You're going to drive. Now, obviously, some days we get it wrong. And when in the beginning, when you start practicing, I encourage you to not put your foot down and just drive, but use that process of expecting the intuition to hit. So you're expecting guidance from your soul. Then when you receive the intuitive hit, to validate it by counting down out loud if you can. Then when the validation hits, you are going to celebrate it and you are going to say, see, this is good. I love this, or yes, or fist pump, or whatever. Play this game with your kids as well, or with your partner. It's really fun. Then once you've celebrated it, you take the action and you move forward. And it creates this beautiful closed circle of programming your subconscious mind, your mind, to listen to these intuitive nudges because it's fun. Now, remember in the beginning I said that your intuition is always with you. It is always there to guide you. If you are not hearing your intuition, if you are not recognizing it, or you say, no, I've never heard it, then I'm going to bet that you are constantly in your head, you're an overthinker, and that you live a very fast-paced life and you haven't created the space to actually start hearing your intuition. Creating space is so important to start hearing the voice of your soul. And when I talk about creating space, I talk about what I mean is you've got to create stillness. You've got to teach yourself to drop out of your mind so much. You've got to teach yourself that when you are in those stressful moments, you've got to have the awareness. That's what awareness does for you. It slows you down. It takes you out of your head. It takes you from overreacting in situations to calming down, taking a step back and recognizing what is happening. And within that awareness, you'll be able to start seeing more and more and hearing more and more the guidance that is coming to you from your soul. And this is the beautiful thing about awareness and intuition. When you start using those two spirit senses, it changes the way that you live your life. It changes the way that you process things. It changes the way that you make decisions. It changes the way that you build relationships. It changes the way that you make decisions within your business. It changes the way that you feel and think about yourself. It changes the way that you do your healing and your self-development. It changes the way you listen to podcasts, for instance. So often I will listen to podcasts, but I will do it from a space of awareness. So if I'm guided to a certain podcast, I will go, which one feels right? And my intuition will go stop, and then I will stop on that one. Sometimes even the heading doesn't look like something I would be interested in right now. But if my intuition said stop and listen, I am guaranteed to find something in there that's real valuable for me, and it is going to support me in the moment. I'll tell you a quick story about intuition and guidance like that. So I had one of those water rowers, but it was a wooden one. And I wanted to sell it because, well, let's face it, it was just standing in the house. It was collecting dust and I wasn't using it. And I was like, I'm going to sell it. So I ended up going to the Mullaloo Resort, the surf lifesaving resort here. I created a flyer to sell it, and I went there, met this beautiful lady, and she put the flyer up there for me. And that particular morning, I was in a space of, what am I supposed to do next? Like, what is the direction that I need to go in with this one thing in my business? And as I walked out of the surf lifesaving club, I stopped and I was like, okay, where do I need to go now? What do I need to do now in order for me to get to the solution or the outcome, the answer that I was needing in that moment? And my intuition just dropped in and said, coffee. And I was like, coffee. And I looked up, and we have a couple of coffee shops right across the road from where the Surf Lifesaving Club is. And I was like, yeah, let me go have a coffee. So walked across the road, ordered my coffee, sat down, and the next thing I heard was podcasts. I was like, why not? I'm just going to sit and have a coffee here. Instead of just watching people and just sitting in my head, let me listen to a podcast. So I went onto Spotify, started searching, and a specific podcaster drew my attention, went into their podcast, and I was scrolling, and it was stop, and I was like, well, I'll listen to this one. And like so many other times, would you know, there in that podcast was the answer that I was looking for. That is what intuition can do for you on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be around business. It can be around your relationship with your kids, with teenagers, finding solutions. It can be when you want to go and buy a new car, knowing to go to a specific car dealer, in the northern suburbs, rather than driving all the way down to the one in the southern suburbs, because there is a better price, a better car up north for you. It is such a powerful tool. It's with you. Start using it. Like, you will never, ever, ever go back to running your life on automatic once you start tapping into your two spirit senses, awareness and intuition. And it is really simple. It is just something that you have to do on a daily basis. And it's not a drag. It is actually quite fun, especially when you play games like the one that I spoke about earlier, the traffic light game. So go out, play the game, and then come back and let me know how you go. Let me know if you've got any questions, and then I can answer them for you and I can support you through this. Share this with friends and family. Share this podcast, because I can tell you now that if you share this with other people and they tap into their intuition, you're going to not only feel good about giving, but you are going to eventually be the catalyst for change, not just for that person, but if that person shares it to the next person, we start changing the world in very, very small ways. Because if we live in alignment with our soul, we'll be so much happier. We'll know what is meant for us and what is not meant for us. We'll know what is right and what is wrong. We'll see through the BS that is being put out in this world, and we will do what's right for us, right for our family, right for the community, and eventually it flows into what's right for the world. If you have not subscribed or followed or liked any of the episodes, this episode, or you're following me on YouTube or Spotify or wherever it is that you're listening to it, please go and do that now, because with your like, your share, your subscribe, you're going to help me share the message of awareness and intuition. And my intention is to create a revolution so that we can change the world in a very, very big and beautiful way. All right, go. Get in your car, go and play the game at the traffic light, and come and leave a message or comment to let me know how you go. Thank you for joining me on the Spiritual AI podcast. Don't forget to rate and share the show with your friends. It will only take a few seconds. So go ahead, go and rate the show, share it with a friend, spread the message of the power that we hold within each one of us, our awareness and our intuition. Let's create a revolution. Let's change the world. I'll see you next time.